Shalom, this is Yair Davidiy speaking to you from the land of Israel. Today we are about to discuss the prelude to the coming of the Messiah. We had a question, there's a question. The question says in the Bible, does it state that the Israelites will be brought back by the Messiah? If it's so, does that mean that the Israelis today are not the Israelites? In other words, a person is saying, does the Bible say that the Jews or the Israelites will come back to the land of Israel through the agency of the Messiah? And if it does say that, and the present-day Israelis are Jews who have come back to the land of Israel, does that mean that they are not really Israelites? Because the Messiah should have brought them back, whereas they came back on their own. So that's what he is saying. So it could be that this question is loaded by anti-Semitic, anti-Jewish prejudice. Possibly the person asking the question has a certain agenda against the Jews. Doesn't really matter. The question is pertinent, it's interesting, and we answered it. And the answer is very important. The answer, as reveals very important information, which is worth considering, worth knowing about. So here it is. At all events, the Messiah will come, the Messiah will return, and the Messiah will return when the world is ready for it, when he is ready for the world. Either way, the Messiah will arrive. He may come soon. The indications are that he will come very soon, but this may not be so. If he tarries, if he takes a longer time than is expected, so that's his privilege. At all events, we shall wait for him. And what does the Bible say? The Bible says that first, the Jewish people will return to the land of Israel, build it up, settle in it, and then after that and other processes that will take place, the Messiah will appear. And we are seeing the first, what could well be the first stage of this scenario. The Jews are returning to the land, they are building it up. A good portion of the Jewish people now are in the land of Israel. So this could perhaps indicate that the Messiah is about to come, is about to appear. So we'll go run through what the sources say, and you can judge for yourself. Now for this, most of what we're about to talk about, we took a source from Rabbi Yair Kaplan, a Handbook of Jewish Thought, printed in Israel in 1992, Volume 2, Chapter 24. And this book is a scholarly work. And for everything he says, he has numerous sources, rabbinical sources, biblical sources, quite a few sources for everything he mentions, everything he utters as a source for it. So we'll go, and so this is worth noting, worth remembering. So here is what he says. He says that there are numerous traditions that the Jewish people will begin to return the land as a prelude to the Messiah. He quotes Midrashim. Then gathering will begin with a measure of political independence, and according to some with the permission of the other nations. So that is in effect what happened already. That the Jewish people, they came back to the land of Israel. The land of Israel then was occupied at the beginning when they began to come back in large numbers. First of all by the Ottoman Turks, then by the British, and the British allowed them to come back and enabled them and helped them to rebuild the land. And after that, they received the independence, and more Jews came. So this is in effect what happened, and this was prophesied, indicated by the sources long beforehand. There's a tradition, he says, he continues saying, there's a tradition that the ingathering of the exile and the rebuilding of Jerusalem will go hand in hand. There's two most important preludes to the coming of the Messiah. So he says there are two processes that will take place before the Messiah comes. The ingathering of the exiles of the Jewish people and the rebuilding of Jerusalem. Present Jerusalem is under Jewish control. The Jews do rule over Jerusalem. That is the capital city. And they have built up a modern city on the outskirts of Jerusalem, which is a modern-day Jewish city of Jerusalem. But the biblical city of Jerusalem is what is dominated now or inhabited largely by Arabs, Muslims and Arab Christians and others. And they more or less control what's going on within it, to some degree at least, and they are preventing any serious Jewish population coming into the city and any serious Jewish rebuilding of the city. But this may change. At all events, the preparation, as if to say, the preparatory process has begun. The Jews rule there and have begun to build up Jerusalem around the edges of it and in certain sections of the centre. And this may be a beginning. It could become a beginning if we pray and if we do well and if we live righteously. Perhaps we will hasten this process. At all events, he continues, Rabbi Kaplan continues, only then will the majority of the Jews return to the homeland. Disaster and God is rebuilding Jerusalem. Then he will gather the dispersed of Israel. Psalms 147 verse 2 says, God is rebuilding Jerusalem, then he will gather the dispersed of Israel. So first the city will be rebuilt, then the rest of the dispersed of Israel will be ingathered. He also continues, says the direction the land of Israel will be cultivated at that time after a long period of desolation. And this is indeed what happened. The prophets speak of Israel, the land of Israel having been desolated and the Jewish people returning to it and the Israelites returning to it and rebuilding it and the land beginning to flourish and become fruitful and bountiful, as is, to some degree is happening now. It's happening before our eyes in our time. See Isaiah 41:18-20 and 49:18-22, also Jeremiah 33:10-11. He says this, Rabbi Kaplan says this is based on the prophecy that first of the land will begin to become fruitful before the end times, and the prophecy in Ezekiel 38 verse 8. O mountains of Israel, let your branches sprout forth, yield your fruit to my people Israel, for they are at hand to come. And Rabbi Kaplan goes on to bring other matters pertinent to the coming of the Messiah. One of the appearance of Elijah and also the return of prophecy that will come about, that Elijah will announce the coming of the Messiah. He says, behold, I will send you Elisha the prophet before the coming of the great and awesome day of God, in Malachi 2:32. Concerning prophecy, Rabbi Kaplan informs us prophecy can usually take place only in the land of Israel and not in any other land. He brings sources for this. Before prophecy can exist in the land of Israel, it must be inhabited by the majority of Jews in the world. So he says before prophecy can appear in the land of Israel, the majority of the Jews of the world have to be living here, and prophecy has to reappear before the coming of the Messiah, and so we must wait a little. And even now there is a good portion of the Jews, of those Jews who are known to be Jews, almost 7 million Jews, live in the land of Israel out of about 14, 15 or 16 million Jews in the world. It's not really certain. The estimates 14 and something million Jews in the world today. But there are a lot of Jews who don't acknowledge that they're Jews, a lot of Jews who are not known about, a lot of Jews who do not know that they are Jewish, but very recently they were, their parents were. So all of these perhaps have to be taken into consideration. At all events, a good portion of the Jews of the world are now in the land of Israel. And if it's not half, it's close to it. It's getting close to it. So we may be getting close to the land of Israel according to this. So this is worth knowing. We also assume that by Jews, the people of Judah, that is the Jewish people, the members of the Jewish religion, that portion of the Israelite nation who kept the law, who kept Judaism, who became officially recognized as Jews, those Jews or Israelites who were lost 10 tribes, that is another matter. They too shall return. But they are not in this special equation. The Messiah, son of David, can appear without them. These are things we don't really understand, but we can clarify the sources and get an overall picture, an overall impression. And before our eyes, we see things like this taking place. The land is becoming bountiful. It is giving us fruit, even though beforehand it was desolate. The Jews are coming back to the land. They do possess the city of Jerusalem. They are rebuilding around it, as if to say there is a process in place which could develop into what is necessary for the Messiah to appear. We'll now just quote a couple of verses concerning the land giving forth its fruit at the time of the Messiah. Isaiah 41 says, I will open rivers on the bare heights and spring in the midst of the valleys. I will make the wilderness a pool of water, and the dry land fountains of water. I'll put the cedar in the wilderness, the acacia and the myrtle and the olive tree. I'll place the juniper in the desert, together the box tree and the cypress, that they may see and recognize and consider again inside this world. The land of the Lord has done this, and the Holy One of Israel has created it. In this verse, we are in effect being told that one of the signs of the approaching days of the Messiah is that the land will suddenly become more fertile than it previously was, and that is what is happening in our time. Isaiah 49 says, beginning with verse 18, lift up your eyes and look around. All of them gather together, come to you as I live, declares the Lord. You will surely put on all of them as jewels, and bind them as a bride for your waste and desolate places in your destroyed land. Surely now will be too cramped for their inhabitants. The land will be overflowing with population. And those who swelled you will be too far away. The children of whom you were bereaved will yet say in your ears, the place is too cramped for me. Make more room for me that I may live here. Then you will say in your heart, me has begotten in these, since I have been bereaved of my children. And so on. That is the same message as previously. The land will change, will become more bountiful, and more Jews will come into the land. Jeremiah 33 says, beginning from verse 10, thus says the Lord, that again will be heard in this place which you say it is a waste, without man and without beast, that is in the cities of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem that are desolate, without man, without inhabitant, and without beast. The voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the brown-eyed groom, and the voice of the bride, the voice of those who say, give thanks to the Lord of hosts. For the Lord is good, for his lovingness is everlasting, and of those who bring a thank offering unto the house of the Lord, for I will restore the fortunes of the land as they were at first, says the Lord. So that is the message. We are in the days of the Messiah. It seems at least almost certain that the days of the Messiah are here, are at least on the threshold. We are getting close to them. And the signs that were predicted that would happen, that would be a prelude, that will foretell or come before the coming of the Messiah, they are taking place before our eyes. And so this may be a sign that the Messiah is indeed close at hand. Whatever it is, whatever it takes, whatever happens, we will wait for him and believe in his coming. May the Lord God of Israel bless you. Thank you.